welcome to today's webinar, the latest trends in marketing for accountants. My name is Brad Geelan, and glad to be on board here today as the host for today's event. And here at Business Fitness, we're all about providing the tools and the advice for helping accounting firms perform at the top of their game. And today's webinar is certainly an extension of that in terms of how to educate your clients about your additional services and also finding new ways of attracting clients. So certainly proving to be a very, very popular webinar today. It has to be one of the most attended webinars we've run in business fitness history for a long, long time. So thank you for being here with us today. So to introduce you to today's presenter, many of you will be familiar with Michael Carter, or MC as he's commonly known. We certainly believe that MC and the Paradox team are definitely pioneers in this whole modern marketing for accountant space. And certainly by the number that are joining us on today's webinar, you know that you need to be using digital marketing such as blogging or mobile-friendly websites. And in our opinion, the best advice in this area is coming from MC and the Paradox team. Our Good, Bad, Ugly surveys and insights definitely reveal that as advisors, you are confident in selling and delivering advisory services, but what you're not so comfortable in doing is the marketing and the generating of the demand for these types of services, and that's the reason we've invited MC to present to us today. We certainly believe MC and his team are providing that inch wide, mile deep service in this whole digital marketing space. So, and Business Fitness has certainly experienced that firsthand. Many of you would know that MC was a co-founder and director as Business Fitness. And in his last year at Business Fitness, he tripled sales revenue by using the ideas and concepts that he's going to share with us today. So without further ado, MC, welcome, and glad to have you on board for today's webinar.
And wonderful to be with everyone today. Looking down at the list, I can see we've got many, many people from all parts of Australia and even internationally. So it's my pleasure to step you through this today. So let's get into it. So the latest trends in marketing for accountants and advisors. For those of you who've not met me before, as Brad said, Michael Carter, but you can call me MC. Now, I was part of the founding startup team at Business Fitness, and also then with Paradox. Now, what happened and why I started Paradox in 2010 is that I saw things emerging, things were changing in the digital marketing space. Social media was starting to be used by people other than children. It was starting to become a business tool. Blogging was starting to become a tool used in business. Now, at that time, it wasn't being used by accounting or advisory firms at all, but I connected the dots and went, wow, this is really going to happen. So that's why we started Paradox when we did. And we're definitely pioneers. You know, you're a pioneer when people laugh at you. I spoke at conferences in the very early days when I was explaining to them, for example, various marketing cloud-based apps that your accounting and advisory firm should be using. And I had people come up to me and say, MC, what are you talking about? An accountant has no need for a blog. And that was even a website provider, mind you, who should remain unnamed for now. You know, what's an accounting firm need to use Twitter for example? So I was definitely ridiculed at the start, but now the time really has come. We have that inch wide, mile deep focus. I love that phrase. That's from Herman Simon, who authored a great book I highly recommend called The Hidden Champions. And inch wide, mile deep means we're very focused on what we do, and we go to great depth. People tell us we go in the areas of marketing about 10 times to 20 times deeper than other practice management coaches and consultants. So one thing to clear up, if you've never seen anything from Paradox before, is we are not about business coaching, practice management. I feel the earth has enough of those already. So let me just expand upon what we mean by the pioneer in modern marketing. We're talking about content-driven marketing that we'll talk about today. Talking about thought leadership positioning. And there's been a few bandwagons hitched on this in recent months, but we've been teaching firms to do it now for 6 years. So blogging, social media, and the hottest area, and we ran a masterclass workshop on this late last year, is in marketing automation, which is another topic for another day. So you might be wondering, why is Paradox presenting this topic today in conjunction with business fitness? Well, it's a beautiful nexus, if you like, in that business fitness is all about efficiency and best practice, standardize, systemize, help you manage your knowledge and do work to great quality fast. But in your advisory areas, you don't get to deliver what you never learn to sell. And business fitness shared with me some of the good, bad, ugly statistics. For those of you who might be unaware, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the accounting profession is the business fitness benchmarking study that they do each year. So get this, for the last decade, growth has been a top 5 challenge for firms. And for 7 of those 10 years, it's been the #1 challenge cited by the firm survey. Now, in the recent survey, 45% of firms are focusing on marketing and selling their additional services in the coming year. And 84% of firms surveyed believe that for accountants to survive, they must provide advisory services in addition to compliance. And I think it would be fair to say that we're all on board with that. If you are on board with that sentiment, and just to check that you're hearing me okay and to get the interaction going, could you click the raise hand button just to see who's on board with that sentiment? By virtue of the fact that you are logged into this webinar now, the vast majority of you are well on board with that. So I'd like to start with a couple of polls. Let's do these quickly. We like to keep the poll open until 80% of you have voted. So don't just sit and watch, we want you to vote. So Bradley, you okay to run the polls? You are indeed. So the first one,
Absolutely.
What is your firm's marketing activity level? So the options include, we do no marketing, we do very little marketing, we do some, we do a lot. Oh, what's marketing again? So vote on that, and Bradley, you can keep an eye on how many have voted, and then close and share the results when we're good. Okay, so I'm just looking over at my other screen now. So 11% do no marketing, and 35% do very little marketing. So that's 46%. If I'm good at my maths, almost half are virtually doing none or very little. 38 are saying some, only 14% saying a lot, and 2 of you had some fun with that. Now, here's the rub, as the Americans say. You have such a beautiful business model in what it is that you do as an accountant and business advisor that you've been able to get away with not doing any marketing for years, for decades now, because your clients keep coming back, they have a need, better the devil they know, and you are in a position, unlike most businesses, where if you do an okay job, people will still come back, generally speaking. That doesn't apply to cafes, restaurants, hairdressers, health spas, hotels. So you've picked a great business to be in. So in a way, I think the accounting profession has flabby marketing muscles. Haven't had to do it. Oh, well, let's not do it. We're still growing by default through referrals from year to year. So that's interesting statistics. Half of you aren't on board yet with marketing. So it's my hope for you today that you can be inspired by some of the principles and examples that I show you to get active with your marketing. And on that topic, another poll that I'd like to run is, what are your intentions for the coming year? So only 3 options this time. What is your firm's intended marketing activity level for the coming year? Will you keep it the same level of activity? For almost half of you, I would hope that's not the case. Will you increase it or will you decrease it? Okay, thanks, Bradley. All right, so 86% of us are going to increase our marketing activity. No one's going to turn the throttle down, and 14% will keep it the same. Great. Well, let's show you how you can do it, and not just make money, because yes, business is about making a profit and having healthy cash flow, and if you don't have that, well, you are in trouble, of course. But you know, there's a lot of fun and meaning and satisfaction to be had by doing, just reaching over to my other computer for a moment there, in doing what it is that you do. You do have the power in your hands to change lives if you focus on those future-focused services, because they're the ones that improve your clients next quarter, next year, not just the past, as we well know. So marketing is fun, and it's especially fun when you see that it's working. So let's have a very quick overview of what we'll cover today. We'll look at 10 trends in marketing for accountants. And by the way, often we are asked, does Paradox work with other types of businesses? We do, but only ever through accountants and business advisors. So the topic today is applicable to every business, particularly service-based businesses, but every business. I saw a blog post the other day that had the line, "There is no such thing as an offline business anymore." So as we go today, I'll share with you real-world examples of firms implementing these principles, and we'll, at the end, drill into one of the most important trends that really, if you're not doing, you haven't really showed up. And just before question time, I'll share with you a special offer that we're quite literally only making to you by virtue of the fact that our relationship with Business Fitness and that you're in this webinar today. And we'll invite you to come to a marketing masterclass that we have coming up in just over 30 days to take your marketing to the next level. So we'll have questions at the end, so feel free. Bradley, you'll keep your eye on the questions as we go and tee those up so that we can have a really healthy and vibrant Q&A session at the end. So do send those questions through ahead of time. It helps us to kind of organize and, I suppose, group the questions as effectively and logically as possible. So trend number one, if you haven't heard of this one, you haven't been awake, so let's not spend a lot of time on it. But trend number one is digital marketing. You know, digital disruption is almost a cliche. It gets talked about so much. But what is digital marketing? Simply, it's just online, targeted, measurable, interactive marketing. And it allows you to generate leads and convert leads. So we pretty much all know that. But to give it some tangible, I suppose, visuals there, yes, it's social media, but it's making sure that your business works really well when viewed on a normal computer, on a tablet, on a smartphone, in addition to in real life, as the kids say these days. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, we'll talk a little bit about video today. Google Plus, and in particular, Google My Business, Instagram, Flickr, Pinterest, Skype, and that last symbol there, if you're not familiar with it, RSS feeds, which means blogging. These are all elements of digital marketing. Do you have to do them all? Absolutely not. But do you need to be involved in digital marketing if you're in a modern day business? Without a shadow of a doubt. I love this. You are who Google says you are. What do we mean by that? If you get a referral, and if you're doing what you do well, you will be getting referrals. So what we help accounting and advisory firms do is to not just rely solely on default organic growth rates through referrals. You'll still get that, but we help up the growth rate by generating more leads and inquiries on top of those referrals. But you are who Google says you are. Even in the case of a referral, what is a person going to do? They're going to look you up. They'll look you up, they'll Google you, and they'll see how you look in terms of your website. If you've got social media icons, they'll click through. They will check you out from afar. We all do that no matter what we're shopping for, whether it's services, products, anything these days. So if you don't have a very strong digital presence and a digital footprint, they call it, where you're showing up at a number of places so you can appear almost omnipresent, you're behind the 8 ball compared with your competitors who are effectively doing that. Now, if you're not at the top of page 1 in Google, so I didn't just say on page 1, I said at the top of page 1, you're kind of an undercover operation. 70% of people do not go to page 2 of Google. Our SEO team leader, Aman, shared a joke the other day, where's a good place to hide a dead body? Which kind of shocked us, but he joked, page 2 of Google. But here's another interesting statistic. On page 1 of Google, the top 3 listings in the free, or what they call organic, which means they're not ads, they get 70% of the clicks, the top 3 on page 1. Now, of those top 3, number 1 gets 70%, I'm slightly rounding the figures, 70% of what the top 3 get. So it's a massive advantage to be top 3 and definitely number 1. Now, you might think, number 1 for what phrase? Now, that's called keyword research related to SEO, which we won't delve into today because we can't. But your digital footprint is just crucial for you to be a significant business. Now, this is one of our poster children. They're a firm called GrowthWise who are all over digital marketing like you would not believe. So Growthwise are based in Newcastle, which is in New South Wales, Australia. They were the very first graduate of our Modern Marketing Academy, which is an online structured program where we teach you how to get clear on your strategy, get clear with how to produce and publish content, and also how to convert those leads. So a year after graduating, Steph was the Xero Partner of the Year, but that's within Australia, as the fastest growing firm within that Xero community. And you can see the images on screen. This is just a screenshot that I grabbed from their homepage of growthwise.com.au. But the words across the bottom there, we pride ourselves on being active within the community, see what we've been up to. So they've got the Facebook, the Twitter, the LinkedIn, and some of the other photos there are showing some of the other things. And it gives you a real idea of, I suppose, the personality, or as they say in the movie, the castle, the vibe of the business. And they've just gone from growth to growth, no pun intended. They have doubled revenue each year for the last 5 years. And before they got clear on marketing strategy and how to do content-driven marketing, which I'll share with you today, Steph was paralyzed with their marketing. They were going nowhere, and it wasn't a happy time for them because of that uncertainty. Now, they're a 10-person firm. They're 100% chargeable. They used to have a part-time support person, but they're so good with technology that they don't need to do what they call shit work, pardon the language warning, but they ban admin. And they cite Paradox as their #1 influence on their success. Now, why I love to share that is they were the first one to come through our teachings when this was so new. And they're almost like family to us, and we often communicate. And just today on Twitter, we're exchanging some messages on how things are going. So that's trend #1, digital. Trend #2, mobile. Now, with mobile, more searches now are done on mobile devices, so not just smartphones, but also tablets, than via normal desktop computers, which includes laptops. So that's been a huge shift over the last 7 months or so. So a bit of a tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell would say. Now, 2/3 of emails are read on mobile devices. So email is part of the mix as well. Even though email's been around for years now, that's also part of the mix. Now, Google, if you don't know this, I'd be surprised, but let's not skim over the fact that Google favors mobile-friendly websites. So when that greater than 50% of people are searching for, I need a new accountant, they're waiting for someone, and let's say they're in a queue somewhere, they get out their phone, they do a search for accountants or business advisors or financial planners or bookkeepers and their location. If your website's not mobile-friendly, Google won't even present it to them. So that was called Mobile-ageddon. I'm not sure who dubbed that Google algorithm update, but you've got to be utterly mobile friendly with your website. So you're at a distinct disadvantage if your website is not mobile friendly. Now, note that we're saying mobile friendly. The latest thinking around mobile friendly is to either have a website or an e-commerce site that is designed to work best on mobiles and focus on that, or to have what's called a mobile responsive website. So that's one that rearranges its layout according to essentially the width of the screen. So the same website will adjust itself for a screen this wide, this wide, this wide, and this wide. And maybe later in the question and answer time, I'll share with you some example sites, some websites that we've built over the last year for people that are mobile friendly. Now, I'm not talking about the rinky-dink, daggy little mobile sites that some of the main providers to accountants in the website space provide, where if someone is on a mobile, they'll go to your website and it'll redirect to a really rubbish looking website that doesn't bear any resemblance to the look of your main website. So we're not talking about that. So mobile responsive is at the very least. Trend #3, local. Google has a very strong focus on local search results. And they've really upped the ante on this in the last quarter of last year, and they're continuing on that. So Google is in the business, apart from of selling advertising. The only thing that allows them to sell advertising is they do deliver such great search results that are so relevant to the person. Now, with devices having the option, if you enable it, to be with that geolocation and be aware of where they are, Google is really focusing on delivering local results, nearby results. So to do that requires what's called local SEO. So the search engine optimization that really focuses on things you need to do or have someone do for you to make sure that your website is ticking Google's boxes on this. Now, we see this all the time. We do SEO for businesses. We also build marketing metrics dashboards for businesses where you can see on the one screen all of your marketing metrics across your website, your email newsletters, and all of your social media platforms all on the one screen. And time after time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, the local SEO for this business, even though they've just spent $10,000 with someone else on a website, hasn't been done. And Google introduced an update to their API for what they call Google My Business. So that's the interface or the way that businesses manage how their business listings look on Google. So you can add your location or locations, and they must be verified. It kind of seems weird, but Google sends you some snail mail, an actual postcard with a code. You can also verify over the phone, but they verify your physical address, which stops people sort of randomly and unethically claiming different addresses and locations. So many businesses haven't done that. And when you don't do that, you will be missing in Google. You can also let people know, when you might look up, you might be going to, say, the local hardware store, let's say on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and you look them up, and the Google search results, without even clicking through to the site, shows you that they're open now or they're closing soon. So cool. Google My Business allows that. Now, opening hours for an accounting firm, less relevance than for a retail store. But if you haven't verified your physical address and completely filled out your My Business profile and SEO'd it for your target phrases, you're at a disadvantage. So you would have noticed changes, particularly over the last year or so, that when you do a search, there's always an ad or 2 or 3 at the top, and you've got ads down the side. But now Google features these Google Maps. They've changed the name a few times, Google Maps, Google Places, but this data is coming out of Google My Business. And it's a massive advantage to be featured just under the map there, isn't it? Clearly, because on a mobile device, people can tap directions, can tap through to the website very easily. So that's where a local SEO and a local focus with your content in your marketing pays off big time in additional traffic to your website, so more visitors to your website. And in this example here, there's a search on a member of Paradox who they're in our academy. We help them with their blogging, with our article service, social media, SEO, and NBC. So they're listing number 1 there. You can see under the map there. And at the very bottom, you can see that they're actually number 3 in what's known as the organic listing. So it's pretty good, as I mentioned before, very good to be top 3. But number 1 in the local search results is far better. It's all over it. So that's what you need to be achieving for your business. Now, that was a broad search. You can get very specific, what are called long tail searches as well. But again, another topic for another day. Now, am I confusing you here? That's not the intention. We just did trend number 3, which was local. Now, trend number 4 is global. By that, there are no longer any geographical constraints. Now, we all know that logically, thanks to the interwebs and Mr. Google, but we see the paradigm is still, with most businesses and particularly with accounting and business advisory firms, still thinking local drive time sort of concept where you need to think about who is my target market and how big is the market and how focused should we be on the types of clients. There are no longer any geographical constraints. And we're seeing firms going national by default within niches. Because if someone searches for, accountant for medical center, bookkeeper for fitness center, the firms that have got content and expertise in those areas and have published blog posts and do social media content around that, they rank very well. And someone sitting in Perth does not care that you're in Sydney or Brisbane or Melbourne or Adelaide. They don't care, because with GoToMeeting, Skype and other tools like that, web meetings are very convenient. Some of you may have already found that even people who might be in the same postcode as you will say, do we really have to meet face to face? Let's just have a web meeting. So you can go national, which is a very exciting thing for a business. Every time I get a flight, and sometimes I tend to want the aisle seat for ease, but every once in a while I end up with a window seat. And if you're on the side that banks, so you're on the inside of it and you can look down, and if it's a capital city, even if it's a region, you look down and it's just mind-blowing how many households, how many businesses, how many people there are just in Australia, let alone in other countries. So if you can have that opportunity mindset of the world's our oyster, at least the country is, it's a really exciting time to be in business, particularly in the type of business that you're in. Now, this is even more exciting. We're seeing firms that are attracting inquiries from international clients. So if your brain's going, hang on, MC, what are you talking about? Tax is jurisdiction specific. Yeah, I know. But management accounting isn't. Bookkeeping isn't, by and large. I know there's different standards in different countries, but we're seeing this happen now. And boy, are they excited when it does. Here's an example, and I asked this member's permission to share this with you. This is an email that came through to Zero Books. I'll explain a little bit more who Zero Books are in a moment. It says, hi, so it's just off the website. I'm the CFO of a global aviation academy. We're now moving globally onto Xero and would like to outsource all the bookkeeping and payroll function to one company. We're based in Australia, England, Spain, Dubai, Malaysia, and Montenegro. It's exotic. Could you support us? Please let me know if you could be our global bookkeeping payroll service provider. Kind regards, Pablo, who's the group CFO. So I've blurred out a few details there. And then Greg Tuckwell, who is the founding partner of Zero Books, who are, by the way, they're a bookkeeping focused business that is a spin-off from the Pool Group, who was Xero Partner of the Year in Australia 2 years ago. So Tucky's email through to me was automated marketing at its best, 3 exclamation marks and a smiley face, hashtag conference in Montenegro, regards GT. Now, I followed up with that and said, hey, how did you go with that? And just yesterday, Greg, who was at the Xero Roadshow in Brisbane, he told me that that is now confirmed engagement for over $30,000 annualized, but it's actually now becoming between a $40,000 and $50,000 because in the setup process, they noticed other opportunities around the management reporting. So think through this. Pablo had never met Greg, never met him, never pressed the flesh, never seen the whites of his eyes, but found him when he Googled and was impressed by the content on their website in terms of their blogs and their videos and the webinars and the things that they've done. I don't know about you, but I'd take an inquiry like that every day of the week. Trend number 5, social. We all know about this. Let's get over the novelty factor. Social media is no longer new or novel. I can't believe the doofuses who get so excited about, oh, social media, and they're consultants to advisory firms on social media. That's like getting excited over the one string on the guitar. Social media is great, but so is the telephone, so is direct mail, so is email. It's old news. Certainly is for anyone in our circles because we've been teaching firms how to use it properly for 6 years now. Now, it's just as essential as in any business as email is. Now, here's my advice to you. Fail to participate in it properly at your own peril. At the very least, you should be monitoring. Now, there are tools available, social media dashboards, services like Mention as well, where you can track keywords. For example, if you Google marketing for accountants, we're number 1 in multiple countries, every country that we care about. Didn't happen by accident. We practice what we preach. Now, in one of the tools that we use to monitor certain phrases, such as marketing for accountants, quick little case study here, there was a call for papers at a conference. And I clicked through, I went, oh, that's interesting, clicked through. The deadline was that day. I thought, oh, there's no time like the present. Contacted the conference organizers, send in, hey, this is what we're about and what we do and help firms achieve. These are the case studies we could share. And they went, brilliant, you're in. So in May, I'm speaking to a room full of hundreds of accountants in downtown New Orleans. Now that opportunity only came from monitoring, but you can also monitor competitors, suppliers, politicians, trends. It's great just to monitor. But most firms fail badly at social. What we see is many firms start it and then stop. They get all excited. They hear someone from stage say, you should be using Twitter or LinkedIn, and hey, connect to me on LinkedIn and let's blow some hot air up each other, as tends to happen. Or many really use it infrequently, and that's not good either, clearly. But what the problem underpinning all of this is, most like a strategy for their own content. Notice I didn't say a strategy for social media. I said a strategy for their content. Keep in mind that social is just one string, and even within that, different platforms. So if you've got a clear strategy where you've got a clear audience, specific people with specific characteristics and traits, and you have a specific message, and we'll cover that in the upcoming masterclass, don't even bother with social media to get clear on your strategy. Otherwise, you'll be, what's that saying, that old saying, empty vessels make the most noise. You just get lost in the considerable noise that exists in social media. Now, why? You might still be thinking, MC, sell me, tell me. Why should I even bother? So apart from the monitoring aspect, we're very measurable and pragmatic in what we do. For example, your website, we always ask people when they do our marketing gap analysis. So just note that we offer a complimentary marketing gap analysis to any firm that wants to step through it. And we ask you, and now I'm kind of giving you some hints, but we ask you, what is the purpose of your website? And we get all this established brand positioning and all this stuff. And our view is its purpose is to grow your marketing database. That's it. That's measurable. And there's a clear flow on ROI, a clear return from that. So social media drives targeted traffic to your website. So that's specific people, the sort of people you want to reach. Massively expands your reach in terms of people beyond just your clients and your geography. So social media, because it's driving people to your website, if your website's converting visitors, again, that's called CRO, or conversion rate optimization. That's a specialty in marketing that we also educate and help implement around. Your marketing database should be 10 to 20 times the size of your client list, easily. So it's a great source for learning. Social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook to some extent, depending who you kind of connected to. It's a brilliant way to learn. And it's a really easy source for your market research intelligence. So easy, served up in a platter. And it's becoming crucial now in recruiting. If you want to attract the younger generation, they use social media for messaging more than email. So it is crucial. And okay, show me the money, MC. It generates leads. It really does generate leads when you do it well. So a very recent example of that, I did a direct message to Steph Hines of GrowthWise, the earlier case example there. And I just wanted some, up-to-date statistics because things can change. And I said, hey, Steph, what's the updated stat on how many leads you get per month or per annum where it originally came from social media? Any stats to share? And she said, hard to nail, as we have had a stack of clients sharing specific social posts, so content, to people. And from that, they then go, okay, let's connect and then let's talk. So sometimes they talk to someone, actually, I'll continue on. So still on average, they get 4 inquiries per week from their website and 2 phone-ins a week. So just over 1 new lead a week, the majority of which are coming from the website. So it's only ever from social or referral, but more often than not, it's a combination, she explains. So for example, had a potential this week go, yep, X sign on the dotted line. And what she said to Steph was, oh yeah, I've been following you on Instagram. Most firms don't use Instagram, but GrowthWise know how to use it well, highly visual medium, of course. And I looked, then I went to your website. Okay, so social media, Instagram. Then I went to your website, bingo, and I thought, these are the people for me. So that's what happens. These are the people for me. What a great way of saying, I like you. People buy, we've all heard this 100 times. People buy from those they know, like, and trust. Do not rest on your trusted advisor status, because you won't sell anything to anyone around your advisory services if you just think, I'm trusted and therefore people will buy. No, they've got to feel like they know you. They've got to feel that they like you. And social media, content-driven marketing is a very leveraged one-to-many way to start relationships. Someone else who's doing it really well, another graduate of our Modern Marketing Academy. We've also helped them with their blogging and social media, taught them how to use videos, which he now does extremely well, is Ben Walker from Inspire CA. He's one of these cut-through firms, they call it. There's a young breed of firm coming through that's starting up that are playing to a different songbook. They're not doing things the way the previous firm they were at did things. And they're doing their blogging really well. They're doing their email newsletters really well using Infusionsoft, which is a system that we put them onto. Their sales process is humming along, and we fixed their sales process, which was broken. You can see a YouTube video on our YouTube channel about that. But they're using Facebook and social media in particular, and generally really, really well. So their target market is young families in small business. Clearly they relate to that because they're young and they're in small business themselves. This is a closed group in Facebook that you've got to apply to get into, and they've got hundreds and hundreds of members. And I asked Ben the other day, now when you're running your in-house events, so little seminars and workshops in his premises where he's got a cafe set up, it's very cool. I said, how many are you getting to each event on average? And he said, oh, it's about 20. It's about 20, sometimes it's 30, depends on the topic. They get guest speakers in. And I said, so how are you going with your call to action at the end of those events? Any particular invitation? He said, no, people are just coming up to us afterwards and saying, how do I get started as a client? And they arrive feeling like they know Ben and now Harvey, who's joined the firm as well as a partner. They're doing it so well. And are they, doing traditional marketing and advertising and sponsoring the latest charity golf round? No, they're doing it with content-driven marketing. Winning all sorts of awards and growing at a very fast rate. Ben's a brand ambassador for chartered accountants and part of the Anthill under 30 list of entrepreneurs, just smashing it. And it's been wonderful. He came to us when he'd just been through a coaching club that gave him 3 really bad pieces of advice, including such archaic advice like go and buy a list. You should never buy a list. They're a bunch of strangers. Grow a list. It's like a beard, but you need to grow one. All right, so trend number 6. Here's what we're seeing around branding. Now, branding is important. You've got to tick 3 boxes to be a remarkable firm. Now, those 3 boxes are, you've got to look great, but that in and of itself is not enough. The second one is you've got to sound great. You've got to have a great message. And your message is not just an idea, it is your content. Your content gets your message out there. And lastly, sad to say it, but you've got to be great. You've got to deliver on the promises that your branding and that your content make. If you tick all 3 of those, you are a cut-through firm. You will stand out head and shoulders above everyone else. But branding on its own, and I see it all the time, we get people come to us, they've had a website done, they spent $5, $10, $15, sometimes $20,000 on a website. It's not converting anyone onto the email list. They've got no idea. Google Analytics hasn't been set up properly, or that was never explained to them. And it's just a very expensive brochure. I said, well, the good news is for you that you're graduating from someone who was doing marketing for pretty pictures to now measurable marketing with Paradox. But that's not to denigrate. You've got to look good or you don't even get your foot in the door, so to speak. So firms are getting decidedly more modern. The younger generation of firms, now, I don't want to be ageist here at all. That would be wrong. So when I say young, it's really a mindset. I feel I'm young. I'm mid-40s, but my knees disagree with me when I play cricket on a Sunday. But I still feel young. I love technology and innovation around business models, what's happening in the world socially. And you, by virtue of the fact you're in this webinar, could well be the same. So that's what I mean by younger. So younger firms are abandoning traditional firm names, out with, I joke, firms stay up all night when they're forming their firm. Should we be Smith & Co., Smith & Partners, Smith & Associates? Oh, it's so hard to decide. So the younger generation are going, bugger that, no need to be boring, and let go of that ego as well. So they're naming firms based around brand message. Then they're investing in their branding. Design isn't some sort of optional extra. It's not something that the marketing coordinator does unless they have a design degree or they're design specialists. It's not something that your high school student child does. Invest in proper design. And that's why we're really strong on that. If someone comes to us and says, look, we need help with our social media content, we need help with our blogging, our e-newsletters, we go, yeah, we can help with all of that. Let's have a look at your website. Your branding stinks, that needs to be fixed, otherwise you'll just be leaking traffic. It would be like a really poorly laid out retail store. Just as in retail, there is an art to merchandising and layout and fit out, so there is with your online presence. So make sure you invest in your branding. And it's good to see firms are being more daring on this front. Accounting, in Australia at least, I have some friends from South Africa who say that there's a very different perception of the accounting profession in South Africa as there is in other countries, which is interesting. They're considered much more leading edge around business advisory. But it doesn't have to be boring. Like if you search in Google on branding for accountants, in number one in Google, we targeted that long tail phrase, you'll find a blog post of ours about why it's called the professionalism paradox and why boring branding hurts accountants. People don't, sure, it's not about being, zany and out there with your branding and that makes you a good accountant. Of course not. You need to be really good at what you do. We're not downplaying your expertise, your credibility, and those more conservative elements that people love about the profession. You are the trusted advisor profession. But firms are being more daring now. So let's look at some examples around that. So here are some firm names that are imbued with the essence of the core brand message. The first 5 of these we actually came up with for the firms. Advise Accountants. So to give you an idea, they're in Bathurst. Change Accountants and Advisors. They're in Brisbane. We came up with their name, their logo, did their website, their blogging, their e-newsletters, and they're the current Xero Partner of the Year. Get a Life Accounting Solutions, they're in far north Queensland. Next Accounting, they're sort of, they're in central to north Queensland as well. Revive, they're down Central Coast, New South Wales. Growthwise, Newcastle. Inspire CA, Brisbane. Maze Accounting are down Geelong Way. Quantum Accounting Group, they're regional New South Wales, and Xero Books are global now, but they're based on the Sunshine Coast. So there's some pretty cool names, a bit different. Now, if they had have named themselves according to the traditional approach, maybe this is how those firms might have been named. But does a great name make for good marketing? No. If you're stuck with a traditional name, is it a showstopper? No. But if you're thinking about starting a business, think about a cut-through name. So then that lends itself to some nice design. And these are all some logos that our network of Paradox certified partners, we've got some great branding and logo designers, designed all of those logos that you can see on screen there with Advise, Change, Revive, and the like. That Get a Life one, just to share with you on that one. When I ran into Debbie Innes, the principal of Get a Life at a XeroCon a couple of years ago, she said, "Oh, MC, I've just got to tell you, every time I meet someone, even if it's at the post office or just someone who's not even a prospect, they go, man, I love your name." And she used to be called Biz Accounting Solutions. So because she's got her name on, embroidered on a shirt, etc., people pick up on it and it's a conversation starter. So dare to be daring around your branding. Trend number 7, niching. So the extensive reach that digital marketing provides makes niching, or as they say in North America, niching, much easier because of that evaporation of those geographical constraints and borders. So firms are no longer afraid to specialize. It's far less scary if you're drawing from the entire country or beyond. Now, on this front, Paradox was the pioneer, and I know we said that word a bit, but hey, we're going to stake our claim because there's been a few people finding a parade and jumping in front of it in recent months. But we were the first to be really strong on this. In the first module of the Modern Marketing Academy called Your Radar, we teach you that a differentiation approach, which is what most coaches and consultants tell you to find your point of difference, find your unique selling proposition, it's BS. Because from a strategic perspective, most firms are not truly differentiated. You're using the same software, you've got the same business model, similar processes, you're drawing from the same labor pool. And as Michael Porter from Harvard in his 3 generic strategies model, which can be combined in 4 ways that we explain in the academy, he says that's a pipe dream for most businesses. You're not a medical device company, a pharmaceutical company that has truly something unique. So therefore, the low-hanging fruit for standing out in the crowd is a focus strategy. And that's not where you say, we're better than our competition or worse, we're the best. Here's classic blah, blah marketing based on differentiation, where your website says, on your about page, we here at XYZ and Associates pride ourselves in our professionalism and dedicated to customer care. We have 73 years combined experience, and everyone is saying they're different and saying it in the same way. It's a waste of time. So a focus strategy immediately helps you stand out because you're not saying, hey, we're better, we're the best. You're just saying, hey, we're over here. And we give you frameworks, very clear frameworks for making decisions around that. So, just as we are practicing inch wide, mile deep, we're teaching firms how to do that. Now, that has obvious marketing advantages. So you can be number 1 in Google for more specific phrases, but there are a lot of operational advantages as well. You get really good, really efficient, better at recruiting, hiring, onboarding your own team, more focused services. You can talk the talk with your clients of their industry or sector or mindset. It's such an easy way to stand out. Very quick examples. So Medic Financial, they're doing what I would say super niching. They're utterly hanging their hat on their niche of medical professionals. So everything, their logo, their name, their website, their content just screams, we're only for medical professionals. You don't have to super niche. Here's a graduate of the Modern Marketing Academy. Again, these guys are in Massachusetts in the United States, and they've done very well by choosing dentists, veterinarians, and startups as their three. Now, do they still have clients outside of that? Yeah, just as you do, you get referrals anyway. So like I say, it's adding another layer of growth on top. So he now gets paid. Here's a clear trait or sign that you are a thought leader. You get paid to do your marketing. Mark McGowan gets paid to stand up at conferences and congresses and user groups within professional bodies and webinars where it's hundreds of dentists, hundreds of vets. He's become a go-to person to them. One other quick example, Zero Books. Those previous examples were focusing on industry types or occupations. You don't have to. And we show you in the Academy how you can combine 4 different factors in lots of different ways to have a focused strategy. So Zero Books, they've had an emergent strategy that wasn't clear on day one, but is very clear now, that they're a bookkeeping service for accounting firms. So you can white label their bookkeeping. If you're struggling to get your clients just even logistically across onto Xero, or even get everyone using, say, Xero ledgers, so at least you can standardize your internal reporting. Great niche. So that's a service-based focus, and they're going really well. In the phone call I had with Greg yesterday when I was asking him permission to show that email that I showed you earlier, they hit their year 1 growth targets in month 9, and we've helped them from before startup. And then they've already hit their year 2 financial growth even sooner than that. That client they got the other day was certainly a help in doing that. Okay, so we got 11 minutes to go. Let's keep going. Trend number 8. And Bradley, you're keeping an eye on the questions. Thank you. Trend number 8, pricing. There are some people that will specialize in pricing, but in the same way that social media is old news, frankly, so is value pricing. If you think value pricing is like out there, I don't know. I think you're not very progressive. You don't, go and get your hair cut or go and get a lawnmower man over or someone to, do something. And then when you ask them the price, they go, oh, look, I'm not sure. I'll keep timesheets. I'll keep track of out-of-pockets and disbursements. And then I'll end up with an amount that's probably more than what you want to pay. And then we'll have an internal discussion. And then we'll either write them off or swallow some sugary courage pills and not do write-offs because we banned them here, so we'll overcharge you. It's just BS. Value pricing is just charging what the service is worth. Note, value pricing does not mean fixed price agreements. Don't use that word fixed. It's the wrong focus, because if the scope changes, the price sure as hell should change. So it's more obviously about value and educating clients on scope, what's in scope, what's outside scope, educating them to what will happen if an outside scope conversation happens. And again, we've got a whole module in the Academy focused on that. But we're seeing firms finally getting it. There used to be, in the good, bad, ugly data, and Brad, you'll recall this, there used to be an inverse relationship between firms that did a very high percentage of fixed price agreements and their profitability. And I know the reason for that is scope creep, where the scope blows out and, they fixed the price. So they're essentially writing things off, or if they're not keeping timesheets, just getting a lower hourly yield. So accounting firm pricing, accounting, law, they're all getting with the Modern Society program of just tell me the price. So it's becoming transparent. So service packages are becoming common. They've been popularized by at certain conferences about, have these different service level packages. You can do that. You don't have to do that. Many firms are doing this poorly because the way they're doing it is putting a downward pressure on price. They're focusing too much on the low price. And there's a ripple effect. That is now giving consumers even more search power, it's called. So they feel they can shop around. If they, in their mind, think, well, all I need is, my bookkeeping, my quarterly BAS and annual statements and returns lodged, they now feel they can shop around. No wonder compliance is under massive pressure and, margin squeeze on that front. Now, the menu of services prices, a lot of people have been spruiking this for years. It's a waste of time. go to YouTube and search why a menu of services suck. Sorry for the language. I'll just keep it real. This is who I am. If you're offended, I do apologize, but oh well. Now, with the menu of services, that doesn't work. It's typically too detailed, too granular, full of three-letter acronyms and jargon that means something to you and nothing to the marketplace. Does not work. What we found is working really well is we call it a ways we work with you diagram, or another way to describe it is a service infographic. And these are working really, really well. I need to give you a visual example of this. Here's a firm that I mentioned briefly earlier. They were one of the logos, Advise Accountants. So Matt Sharwood, sole practitioner based in Bathurst. And since implementing this, where I don't have time to explain this now, but this is a visual summary that's on their website. That is the structure that they take when talking to a prospective client, and they're also using it to re-educate existing clients. But they have more than doubled their monthly run rate in terms of recurring revenues. And in Matt's words, he came to our last masterclass, MC, we're growing and we're not even trying. Whereas before, the typical sign-up was just bog standard compliance. Now they're all taking advisory. And they're loving it. They're saying things after they sign up, instead of a $3,000 engagement for an $8,000, $9,000 engagement, going, man, I wish I've been looking for an accountant like you for years. I wish our last accountant would do this. Kind of a paradox, if you like, that the clients that pay you, and I know you've experienced this, the clients that pay you more love you more, you love them more, because you're helping them more meaningfully. They're not just a transaction. Trend number 9. Now I'm going to give everyone a heads up right now. What I do, you won't often see me do the same presentation twice. This is brand new slide deck, brand new content. I am going to go 10 minutes over, not in delivery, but in question time. So just brace yourself for that if you want to take part. But stay with us, because I'm about to give you a special offer to join us and Business Fitness at the next masterclass. Trend number 9, we all know that it is not true that compliance is dead. That is just scaremongering by business coaches, but clearly profit margin of compliance is in a critical condition if it's not dead. So many firms are treating it as a lost leader just to start the relationship, and then they look to later upsell, which is the wrong approach. You need to do it right at the start. But firms are treating compliance as, oh, well, as long as we don't lose money, or they're even willing to lose a little bit of money on it. Now, this shocked me when I first saw it, but I'm now seeing it more and more. Firms are now pricing the year-end compliance as free if the firm's controlling the bookkeeping. Because how fast and easy is it to do if you're not having to deal with a mess of the good old-fashioned shoebox? That's a thing of the past. So many firms are still, when it comes to advisory, they're still struggling to sell their optional value-add services, and they can deliver it at the principal, senior level, but they're struggling to scale it. And we've got a whole masterclass, separate topic to the one that's the next one, but we'll do it this year, on how to design your advisory services so you can scale them and they don't rely on the most senior people in the firm. And just like Advise there, I love dealing with the advisory-focused firms, because we get you to a point where it's just normal, it's just standard to sell your advisory as just, that's what we do here. Oh, compliance, yeah. We do that, but anyone can do that, is the message that comes across. Now, lastly, with content. I put this last, but it almost should be first. But there's a reason I put it last. Finally, firms are now they're understanding content marketing because they're seeing it more. Now, we were probably way too far ahead of the curve, many years ahead of the curve in terms of demand, but now we're getting daily inquiries from people who are Googling marketing for accountants going, hey, I know I need a blog. Now, most new websites have a blog. If they don't, if yours doesn't, you need one. We recommend the WordPress platform. Highly recommend it. We don't recommend the platforms used by the most popular providers of websites to accounting professions. But many firms, I'd say 95% of firms, struggle with creating unique content. And most firms are publishing dry, technical articles. I won't give up my day job with the Comedy Act, but don't publish dry technical stuff. Your clients, your prospective clients, don't want to read about, why a company is a good choice as a trustee for a self-managed super fund. They just want to be told that stuff. They don't want to read about the latest tax rulings. What people want to read about is thought leadership, which basically means how to help them have a better life, have a better business, sleep at night, manage their cash flow, attract better quality staff, implement technology and efficiencies. So if you only write about your core with your content of tax and compliance and bookkeeping, you're going to be a bore, absolute bore, and you won't get engagement. So it's a huge mistake. So there's no marketing benefit in publishing dry technical articles, but firms who publish the thought leadership content, they position themselves as thought leaders and they grow a following, and they also grow their marketing database. Ben Walker from Inspire CA, one of the earlier examples, he sent me a screenshot out of Infusionsoft, the CRM that we put him onto, and in the past 30 days, there's a widget on the dashboard that shows your list growth. That's a KPI that you should be monitoring. His had grown by 90 in the last 30 days, which that's pretty cool. That's like 90 people walking into your foyer and go, yeah, I like you guys. I'm thinking about doing business with you. So you grow a following in your database and then you experience inbound pre-educated leads. They are a dream. They're warm. They're ready to buy. You don't have to, give them the spiel about why your firm. Your marketing, your content has done that. They're pre-sold on the firm. They just want to know, how are you going to help me? And let's just explain how you structure your services and how you price things. So you get straight into scoping. Now, the powerful forms of content are being underutilized by accounting firms. We're seeing lead magnets are not being done well enough. So a lead magnet is something like an ebook, a white paper, a downloadable, a checklist. Like when you Google branding for accountants and you find our blog post on that as #1 in Google, you'll see some green buttons where you can download a checklist to check if you're boring or not. That's a lead magnet. And that builds your marketing database. So we're helping firms utilize that. Most websites we know are not converting visitors. When we look at the marketing metrics dashboard, it's showing 0 and 0% for conversion goals achieved and percentage. So that's like having a very leaky bucket, an expensive bucket of your website. Webinars, some firms are doing webinars. Gosh, they're powerful. Some firms like Inspire CA, like GrowthWise, like Otium Group, someone else who I haven't even mentioned today who are smashing it as well. They're a firm, Otium Group on the Sunshine Coast. When they started their blogging journey with us, they were doing one self-managed super fund setup a week on average. They now do 5 a week on average, 20 a month. They hit that, not every month, but most months they hit it. Some months they go beyond that. Screencasts, that's just a video of your screen with your voiceover. You can show people how to use a particular app or show a management dashboard or something really cool that they can improve their business with. Podcasts have had a renaissance. To me, podcasts are old news, but they're really easy way of producing content because you can record audio, you can publish it out to iTunes and other ways, and then let your list know, and then they can log in and listen to you as they're commuting, as they're walking along the beach, or whatever it might be, riding their bike, stationary bike to be safe, officer. But most firms are not doing this stuff. So this is leading edge. Surveys, quizzes, polls, all of this is a wonderful way of engaging your audience. Zero Books are doing it really well. Here's the most recent blog post that we did with them. Some of you might get the Monty Python reference there to bring out your dead. And he's getting people mention these to him, and he's getting a steady stream of, as you saw in his email earlier, automatic marketing. Google, find, go to the website. Click through, email, know, like, trust, inquire, then buy. 2 more quick examples. Rapsy Griffiths, sorry that I just showed there. They're an insolvency firm. Now they're doing such a great job. If there's a topic that can be dry and technical, insolvency is one of them. But young, vibrant firm with Mitch and Chad there, again, they saw, because their target market's accounting firms, they saw a number of cut-through firms, and the common answer when they said to them, who's doing your marketing for you? It was Paradox. So other firms in that Central Coast and Central New South Wales region. So they're doing a great job in achieving great things. They smashed their year 1 target. Consolidate, an award-winning Brisbane-based firm, have been doing really well with their blogging as well. So here's why it's crucial. Effective blogging, not just blogging, but when it's effective, it grows your online presence, generates targeted traffic to your website, grows your marketing database, boosts your website's Google rankings. You'll get into that top 3 for your target phrases, especially when it's done in an SEO savvy way. So make sure you attend our next webinar if you're on our email list about its SEO #2 webinar about some more advanced tips around search engine optimization. Now, when people read a few articles and they're good articles and they feel educated and maybe even inspired by you, you're a guru. You're seen as the authority. So that's what attracts your ideal types of clients. And it attracts other opportunities, speaking engagements, radio interviews, newspaper columns. Lots of examples that I don't have time to share with you of that flows once you're an online authority. Now, content that doesn't date is called evergreen content. It works for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year after you publish it. Whereas email newsletters, they're kind of like today's newspaper. They have a use by date of a day or two, and then they get buried, quite literally in the newspaper's case. So blogging just keeps working for you because it's on there. Google indexes it, and the more social media links to it, the better it ranks as well. So if you're not consistently blogging and publishing educational and influential content, frankly, you haven't really showed up as far as modern digital marketing is concerned. I once saw a Woody Allen quote, and he said, 80% of success in life is just showing up. Made me laugh, but if you think about it, kind of is. School, university, CPD, CPE points for your professional development. So if you're not doing that, if you're not blogging consistently and well and publishing that, you're pretty much an undercover operation compared to competitors of yours who are doing it. Your website traffic will be much slower. And in our marketing gap analysis process with you, we can show you graphs and empirical evidence of that. Your marketing database will be smaller if you're not blogging. You'll probably be a bit of a nobody by comparison to an authority, and you won't be educating your clients as much. So you're being far less helpful, and you'll be missing out on those warm inbound leads. So we'll go to Q&A in just a moment. Here's what we do as a digital marketing agency and educator. We cover all bases: strategy, design, content, implementation, and your metrics. So that just gives you a very quick overview of what it is that we can either do for you or teach you. So if you want to learn how to fish, because that'll feed you for a lifetime, as the Chinese proverb goes, and that is so true, that's great. That's where the masterclasses and the Modern Marketing Academy comes in. But if you want done-for-you services, we can do that as well. So what I'd like to explain is the special offer for just those in this live webinar. If you're watching this recording, sorry you've missed out. So the Blogging for Business Masterclass is a 2-day workshop that we're running in just over 30 days. It's in Sydney on the 15th and 16th of March, so pencil that into your calendar, and also note this email address because you'll need it to put your hand up and say yes please for the offer and the saving. Tickets go on sale this Monday and it'll sell out. It's limited to 35 people and masterclasses sell out. So that's the basic facts for your calendar. Now, what we're going to do at the masterclass, how your business will be different, is we're going to show you how to generate inbound leads using content-driven marketing, primarily blogging, but also the related tools to make your blogging successful and popular. You'll learn from us being the first people to ever teach accountants how to do blogging. You'll grow your firm's online presence. You'll build your personal brand as an advisor, also your firm's brand as a thought leader. Your website traffic will go up with that targeted traffic. Pay-per-click advertising, advertising tends to generate traffic that's not very targeted and can be price sensitive. Thought leadership, inbound leads are good quality leads. So you'll also educate and nurture your existing clients. And again, rubber hitting road sound, you'll attract ideal client types. So the people you really want, what was that phrase that Steph shared earlier where the new client said to her, yeah, I got the feel that you're the type of people that I want, something like that, like the vibe. And, plenty of people list us as either the greatest influence or one of the greatest influence on their marketing success, including Ben Walker from Inspire. His main words to jump off the page there are just practical and substance is how he describes what we taught him around marketing. And 3 of the last 4, now whether you're drinking the Zero Kool-Aid or not is not relevant, but the Zero Partner of the Year is always a fast growth, switched on modern firm. And 3 of the last 4 of them have all been Paradox members who come to our masterclasses. So whether Steph Hines from GrowthWise, Greg Tuckwell from Pool Group, and Tim Munro from Change Accountants and also Change GPS have all come to masterclass and brought team members along as well in the case of Steph and Tim. So what you need to do for the offer is, we'll do questions in 30 seconds, Bradley. You're going to email grow@practiceparadox.com.au, and you're going to, if you want to take advantage of this offer, include the subject masterclass discount code, please. You got to include please, or my mother won't let me give it to you. That sounded weird. We'll email you a discount code on Monday that will save you $100 off the plus GST off the ticket price for each ticket that you buy, not just the first one. And note also that early bird ends next week. We have a short early bird because it sells out so quickly, and early bird alone saves you $400 off the ticket. So if you're going to come, get in on early bird, and together with the discount code of $100 extra, that'll be $500 saving for the 2-day masterclass that we guarantee that will lift your marketing to the levels that we've shared with you today. Now, sincerest apologies. I don't like going over time, but we have. So over to you, Bradley, and everyone. We'll take as many questions as we can in, say, the next 7 or 8 minutes.
Thanks, MC, for that wealth of information. Loving your jokes as well. Fantastic.
My kids say they're dad jokes. I suppose they are.
Yeah. Look, I'll try and summarise as best I can the questions that have come through. In terms of the examples that you shared, Dawn's got a question, and thanks, Dawn, for your question. Interested to know whether they have their own internal marketing people and how much time they actually spend on that marketing compared to maybe outsourcing.
Yeah, good question. Now, the answer to that question depends on the size of the firm. So, for example, Pool Group and Zero Books, their Pool Group has about 60 people. So they've got some really good internal resources on their marketing, particularly techie type ones, but they still use us to polish and SEO their blog posts and to guide their strategy. Other firms like GrowthWise have got a digital savvy principal, and they do most of their stuff in-house. Most do a combination. Now, if you want, you can email Grow at. We've got a white paper that explains the difference between a marketing coordinator, a marketing manager, and a marketing director. They are different. And where people go wrong to thinking through, Dawn, behind maybe part of the motivation for the question, we see most marketing coordinator hires not work out. When they work out, they're awesome. So if you're a marketing coordinator, it's going well, brilliant. That's great. You're an extremely valuable team member. But when it doesn't work out is when someone goes to some seminar or webinar and hears, you need a marketing coordinator, and they hire one, but the job spec's not clear. They're really expecting them to be a marketing manager and sort of make strategy decisions and direct things. So usually what you need to do is find out, what are your internal strengths? Imagine a Venn diagram, 2 circles. You've got your internal resources. So if you're good at writing articles, brilliant. And then you've got outside resources such as Practice Paradox. And why we're going so well with what we're doing is, for most small and medium-sized firms, you're not about to hire in-house a copywriter, an SEO person, a marketing tech assistant, because it's just not feasible. Whereas we have all of those. We've got 16 team members dotted around Australia and internationally who are each specialists in those different areas. And so we can add that value without you having to hire any one person full-time. But the other area, and this is a big aha, a big take home for everyone. Marketing strategy and business strategy are the same thing. I'll say that again. Marketing strategy and business strategy are precisely the same thing because they are answering the same questions. Who are we? Who are we targeting? What are we selling? How are we going to position and price it? They're exactly the same. So where marketing fails in any type of business is where the principals think they can abdicate it, whether they're abdicating it to an agency like Paradox or abdicating it to someone they've hired and they said, oh, Sally or Tom can look after the marketing. I don't want to think about it. Bum, bum. I use the analogy of sailing a ship. Strategy doesn't take a lot of time, but it takes clear decision making. So never ever make this let go of the strategic decision making at the senior level in the business. But what you can let go of is polishing articles, loading articles, SEO articles, loading things in social media, finding images. That you can have a support person in-house do or outsource to someone like us. Long answer, but there's a lot to that.
Got another question from Jed in relation to pricing, trend number 8, around how do you what's the best way to establish value for a service?
Wow, okay. We have a model of the value equation that we teach. And what people generally say in marketing is that the benefits divided by the price equals the value. So the price is only one part of the equation. The benefits are how they see it's going to help them either avoid pain or move toward or gain pleasure, but it's more complex than that. That's a bit simplistic. The other elements in our version of the value equation is timing and ability to pay. So there are external forces on pricing. And this is why I think accountants and business advisors are under a lot more scrutiny now, is people, like I mentioned earlier, can feel they can search and shop around a bit. Whereas before, pricing is a bit of a dark art. The good old, excuse my reaching, the good old tick, tick, tick that your clients are hearing in the back of their mind every time they call you or even think about calling you because they think, oh God, this phone call is going to cost me $200, $300. So pricing, I would say there are market forces and expectations, but there's also, that's called top-down pricing. So top-down pricing is what do you think they think it's worth? But there's also bottom-up pricing, and bottom-up pricing is the cold, hard reality of there's certain number of people involved in the workflow in terms of support, prep, QA, sign-off. So you look at it and you go, all right, there's going to be 1 or 2 partner hours. There's going to be 6 accountant hours. There's going to be 90 minutes of support team. We currently pay them X an hour. Multiply that by our on-cost factor. Our desired multiple, as a rule of thumb, is whatever it is, 3, 3.5, 4. And therefore, on bottom-up pricing, we need to price here. Oh, our value pricing's here. Or our value pricing's here. So somewhere in there is your price. But personally, I don't like value pricing the way most people teach it. A few common coaches, ex-business partners of mine who've got very dogmatic views that I disagree with 80% of them. And they think that value pricing means premium pricing. It does not. I also think they think that value pricing means ripping off your clients. And they always give examples like some random tax planning example where, they're driving along in their sports car and they call their accountant and, the accountant saves them $50,000 and then the accountant says, yeah, are you happy for me to bill you 10 grand for that advice? Yeah, sure, I still made 40,000. Doesn't happen every day of the week, does it? So with your bog standard advisory services, our belief is price unto others as you would have them price unto you. Slight variation of a rule to live by. And that is just, we think you should price the same for everyone, whether they're a one-person business. In general, there's always caveats. The only difference is risk. If you're doing the same service to a listed company versus a private family business, you're at a lot more risk. So risk comes into it as well. But that's a big topic, pricing. I hope that has given you a few cues. Difference between top-down pricing, what's it worth in their mind, and bottom-up pricing, what's it cost us to deliver and what multiple and margin do we want to make.
Okay, thanks, Jed, for that question. Look, I'm conscious of time. One last question, MC, if that's okay.
Sure.
And it's come through from Rachel. And Rachel just wants to know, in terms, how do we know that our marketing efforts and our marketing, digital marketing campaigns are working?
Aha. I wonder I didn't ask that question. Okay. In the content marketing cycle, which is a diagram that we explain around strategy and lead generation and then lead nurturing and conversion, every single step is measurable. So here's some lead measures for you in your marketing. What is your website traffic in terms of unique visitors? How many people came to your website today, last week, last month? And when we build a marketing metrics dashboard for a business, you can just see this. You don't have to get all techie and log into Google Analytics. We present it in an easy way. So is your website traffic growing also from organic traffic, which means people who've discovered you? They didn't click on a link in your email signature. They didn't know about you and just type in the web address. They searched a phrase and found you. So that's website traffic. That's the top of the stream. Then downstream, is your website converting? Utterly measurable. Conversion goals, I mentioned them briefly. They're a principle in analytics with websites. In your Google Analytics, you can enter many, many different conversion goals, such as signing up for your e-newsletter. That's the lamest of all, but tends not to convert very well. But how many people have downloaded, like we know exactly how many people have downloaded the branding checklist for accountants that I mentioned earlier. So if you've got white papers, ebooks, checklists, there's also a concept of events, which are behaviors on your website, like clicking a video. You might have your video that explains your passion and why you do what you do along Simon Sinek start with why lines on your homepage. You can track how many visitors, what percentage are actually clicking, and what number of people are actually clicking that. So I'll use that retail example. Good retailers, they're amazingly scientific. They guide you through different aisles. They make you to go certain ways, got things either side of the register. They are guiding your eyes and your ears at every moment. They are. Anyone who's got clients in this space will know this. So same with your website. So anyway, we've got website traffic. We've got website conversion onto your email list and social media. Social media, there's a whole bunch of metrics for each platform as well. But then what's your list growth? And then what is your email newsletter open rate, which is percentage of people? And what is a more important measure is your click-through rate, or CTR. What percentage of people are actually opening and clicking the links to go through to read the full blog post on our website? So there are some examples there. Also, we show you how to build a conveyor belt, which is a multi-step, multi-touch process that educates and influences people in the best sense of the word influence. And you can measure every step. And all of those metrics that I just mentioned are part of the conveyor belt. But ultimately, it's number of leads, isn't it? And we show you ways that you can track inquiries through defined stages of a sales process as well. So that by that equals how many new clients you get a week, which could be 6, like GrowthWise. Now, Bradley, I'm very sincerely, I can see most people are still with us, but I'm sincerely apologize to everyone for going over time. And to you too, Bradley, because you wanted to share a piece of information as well in terms of the future fit profile.
Diagnostic. Yeah, thanks very much. If we haven't answered your question, we'll email some responses to you in the near future. But just wanted to share, look, thanks very much for everyone for being on board here with us today. You will receive an email from us following this webinar, and as a part of that email, we have a link there to what we're calling our Future Fit Diagnostic. So as I mentioned before, business fitness is all about improving your efficiencies and helping you to perform at the top of your game. And that Future Fit Diagnostic certainly will give you a score out of 100 in terms of where you sit on the efficiency index. So look out for that email following today's session.
Brilliant.
So if you did miss it, if you did miss anything today, by the way, if you joined late, there's certainly a recording of today's session that you can catch up on anything that you did miss. So, look, MC, appreciate you being with us today, sharing your experience and knowledge in this space for the digital marketing space. We certainly appreciate you all being on board with us today. And on behalf of Business Fitness, my name is Brad Geelan, and we look forward to joining us very soon for our next webinar. Thanks very much.